ChatGPT-4o Image Generation is probably one of the most viral AI tools that has come out in the last few months. And that's saying a lot because OpenAI has been releasing new things pretty much every single day over the last couple weeks. But the image generation model is truly impressive because it goes beyond what we thought was possible with these AI tools. From creating plastic action figures in their cases like this, to generating new versions of your logo, to creating YouTube thumbnails, diagrams, the list goes on and on and on. I've been posting about it pretty consistently on my Instagram with different use cases and examples that I've been finding, and people have been going crazy over them. Not only for the fun ones that are things that wouldn't typically exist, like seeing characters at a party, but also more concrete examples that businesses can use for their own resources. For example, like making new versions of a logo that they could use in marketing or ads. And so I wanted to cover one specific example today that not only uses ChatGPT-4o image generation, but also uses a tool called Kling AI to animate these images in a way that's super unique and scroll stopping. So like with this example, we're taking a logo and then creating a 3D glass animated card like this, which simply goes from taking your logo to using GPT-4o to generate the image and then using Kling AI to make a rotating version of that image. And this is also very similar to some of the other examples that I've made, like this one, which is fairly creepy to be honest, where you can take reference photos that you find that are really interesting and then have that style be applied to a source image that you upload. And this is one of the key things that I've learned while using ChatGPT-4o image generation is how to prompt it correctly. So for example, you can see how this one I've uploaded a source image and then an image of myself. And you can say, turn the real photo on the right into a stylized 3D character like the character on the left. So ChatGPT knows the difference between what image you uploaded first and second, left and right, which is very interesting and not normally what you would see in these types of platforms. But the cool thing is that once it generates this image, you can take it a step further by animating it with this other tool called Kling AI. So I've been playing around with this with a lot of different examples, but essentially what I'm doing is uploading the image and then using a very simple prompt like make the character look directly into the camera and wave. And this AI tool will take that image and modify it and animate it to produce a result that looks exactly like this. And we can do this with many different examples and use cases, like how we could add our logo that is a 3D glass card and then it animates it into a different way. This one's kind of wild, but there's also different ways and methods that you can do it to make sure that it generates a result that is pretty much exactly what you would expect it to produce, like have it rotate 360 degrees and it ends up where it started. So I've been collecting all of these examples and tutorials into a Notion guide. And if you want access to this Notion guide, you can use the link down below to download it. It's free. But essentially what we have here is the exact prompts that we can use to generate these assets to match these examples. And I've also included the original threads for where I found these examples. But one of the most important things is being able to understand that this is definitely an art when it comes to prompting. If it doesn't work out exactly the way that you're expecting, just keep trying and playing around with it because eventually you'll get a result that you think looks really cool. When we look at this specific example for the glowing trading card in animation, we see that the prompt looks a little bit different than something that you might have been familiar with in the past. And this is because this prompt is written in what's called JSON format. JSON format is basically a way to structure information and data that these AI tools can understand extremely well. And this is super beneficial when you're trying to create consistent results. So if you're trying to make something that looks like this every single time, having a prompt that's in JSON format is going to be extremely useful to, again, get those consistent results. And the best part is most of these have dynamic data. So you can see in here that there's words that are in these double curly brackets. This is where you would go in and modify it to make the prompt more customized to your specific example or use case. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this prompt and we're going to create a new ChatGPT conversation. And we're going to paste in the prompt and then we're going to scroll down to where it says parameters and we're going to start to customize and fill this out to make it more customized to our example and use case. So instead of making it about Tesla, we're going to make it about my company, Stammer AI. All right, so now that we filled out all of the information, we're going to upload and attach an image. So that way GPT has some sort of reference to know exactly what our logo is, because it doesn't know typically what our logo is if I just said Stammer logo. So I'm just going to take a logo and I'm going to drop it into the chat here. And now we have a prompt that's pretty much ready to go. And all we have to do now is click create and wait a few minutes for it to generate this new image. And it's off to the races. Now, while this is being generated, I'm just going to scroll through some of the other examples that I've been finding that I think are really cool. Of course, there's the plastic action figures that went super viral on Instagram and TikTok over the last few days. There's a cool one to make Minecraft pixelated icons, different textures, like making something fluffy. One of the best parts about GPT-4o is it actually can generate text correctly. That was one of the big issues with past AI models when generating images, is it would always mess up the text. It also mess up a lot of the fingers and things, like those small details. All of that now is pretty much solved, and it works really well most of the time. And you can pretty much generate logos and icons in any different style that you could possibly think of. I also love GPT-4o Image Generation to create new styles for merchandise. I've been thinking a lot about new hat ideas and ways that I could make new merch for Stammer AI. And so I have some of that stuff coming out. I'll make another whole video on that. If we go back to the ChatGPT window, it should be done generating, and there we go. So now we've got this 3D glass card using all of the information that we entered in under the parameters. So now what we can do is we can download this image, and now we're going to go over to Kling AI, and now we're going to animate this image. So they have a couple different models similar to ChatGPT. They have Kling 1.6 and Kling 2. We're actually going to go to Kling 1.6 for one very specific reason, which is being able to set a start and an endpoint. And this is super useful because we're going to want the 3D image to be rotated 360 degrees and end up where it started. So that way, when we download this video as an asset, it looks like it's a continuous 3D rotating element and doesn't have any glitches or pauses in its rotation. So we're going to upload the image here. And now you can see that there's the option for start and end. So we're going to click end, and then we're going to upload the same exact image. And this will make it so that way the start and the end point are the exact same. So that way when the image is rotating, again, it will end up where it started. So that way it's a continuous 3D 360 rotating video. And then because I know this prompt worked well in the past, we're just going to reuse this one that says the rotation is smooth and continuous, completing a full 360-degree spin on a vertical axis, seamlessly looping back to the start, no camera movement, only the card rotates, creating an elegant endless loop. And then we're going to generate. Now, Kling AI is going to take a couple minutes to generate this video. But again, I'll show you some of the other ones that I've generated in the past. Of course, we have these other examples that I've done with the Stammer logo, but it gets to be pretty interesting when you do things like show the logo cracking and breaking apart, like glass in slow motion. Because the possibilities here are essentially endless. This is one of my first examples that I thought was extremely cool, where I have a couple Lego guys that are walking very realistically towards the camera. And this was actually an image that I generated before the new GPT-4o Image Generation tool came out. But I just love how the water looks so real as the guy is kind of sloshing through the river here. Here you'll notice different examples and images and videos and things that people are creating and posting on social media, because it is going insanely viral right now. But just a friendly reminder to keep things safe. Don't do anything weird, because you never really know what's going to be the output of some of these models. For example, I was trying to get this Funko Pop to be a simple 360 rotating video like this image that we're generating right now, but you can see that it still does some weird things where like the hat pops out, or in this example there's no back at all and then it kind of looks a little wonky. Or this version where it's just a box, where I was kind of expecting it to look 3D. And this is again where the kind of the art comes into this, is playing around with the different prompts to figure out exactly what it is that you want to happen. Because the first time that you do it might not always be the best. Out of all the AI tools that I use and I test out on a daily basis, Kling AI is one of those ones that I've actually never kind of canceled after I initially tested it out, because the product is so good. I'm a big fan of it, and I would highly recommend that you check it out. All right, so we can see pretty quickly that this is not what we wanted, and this is not exactly what I was expecting to happen, but that's okay because we're just going to try again. So we're going to update the prompt slightly to say spin the logo 360 degrees on the vertical axis, seamlessly looping back to the start. Only the card rotates, creating an elegant endless loop. And let's see how that works. All right, so here we go. Now it generated the new video. And voila, that looks pretty good to me. So this is a prime example of where a prompt might not exactly give you the right result on your first try, but if you do some minor changes to the prompt, you get an amazing result like this. And this is one that I'm actually going to download myself. So like I mentioned before, if you're interested in taking these prompts, reference images, and instructions to create your own new images and videos, there's going to be a link down below where you can download this Notion guide that has all of that information where you can copy and paste and play around with it yourself. I'd be super interested interested to see what you guys create. So tag me in whatever that you create, and be sure to subscribe for other new AI tutorials that I'm going to be making over the next couple of days and weeks. Thanks again, everybody, for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.